afternoon. This is the meeting of the Woodbridge Police Commissioners, December 15th. The time is 4:03, and it's our regular meeting. So I'd like to, before we formally get started, acknowledge and welcome our new Deputy Chief of Police, Raymond Quinn.
Thank you very much.
Delighted to have you. We're all delighted to have you, most especially the chief is.
Absolutely.
And also,
It's a good day.
It's a great day. And also to welcome our chief at the Animal Control Officer, Anna Maffo. Welcome, Anna. Thank you for joining us. So with that, I'm going to get started on our agenda, starting with the approval of minutes of our last meeting, which was a special meeting on November the 17th, and would ask if there are any questions, comments, concerns on the minutes. If not, I'd ask for a motion to approve.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Okay, and I see there is nobody here for public comment. Tiffany, have we had any correspondence from anybody? No. So we're going to jump right into a review of reports, starting with the financial report. Chief?
Yes, sir. So as of December 4th, which is almost 6 months into this year's fiscal budget, we have utilized 41.3% of our budget. The overtime budget is at 132%, which is high, but that's due to contractual minimum staffing requirements. So for the first 5 months of this fiscal year, the department had 4 budgeted vacancies and 2 long-term injuries. So what's happening with the overtime budget is there are nights where we are going on the street with a minimal number of officers, and the officers are able to work voluntary overtime, and they've been picking up shifts there. That's where a big part of our overtime budget is being spent, to give us 3 officers on the street at any given time.
Chief, have you always been able to cover it with voluntary?
What happens is that there, in the contract there is a minimum staffing requirement. So there is the option, though, when we meet the minimum staffing requirement, that there's voluntary overtime to give us 1 more officer, because a lot of times we really should have a certain amount of officers on the street. So the voluntary officers gives us that time, but it's voluntary. It's not mandatory. The only time there's mandatory overtime is for us to meet the actual minimum staffing requirements. So several officers are picking up that shift. And what you see, like if we had a lot of extra duty work right now, if there were a lot of utilities doing extra duty work, officers would more than likely take that assignment, because that assignment pays a little bit more, it's a little bit easier of an assignment than to work a patrol shift. But when the extra duty assignment dries up a bit, they have the option to make a few extra dollars by working the voluntary overtime. So that's why that number is a bit high, but that is all because of the vacancies that we've had, including the 2 long-term injuries.
But I think the most important point to understand about that is, as the chief has explained, this is a contractual obligation that the town has based on previous contracts with the union.
Yes.
So that ordinarily you would have, ideally you would like 3 people on duty on the night shift, but a minimum of 2, and
Right.
This gives officers a chance to complete the obligation of having 3 officers available, right?
Sure, yes.
And it is a bit of a benefit in the form of extra income for those officers for the night duty.
Right. Yeah, and another way to look at it too, if you look at the budget line for overtime, you know, the town has only budgeted the department for $130,000 in overtime. So when you look at that, and you look at being down 4 vacancies, and you look at having 2 people on long-term injuries, there's 6 people. 130,000 is really one person.
Right.
So it's actually not as astounding as it sounds, but we've only budgeted for 130, and that's why we're over. So,
Here's a question on that, more by way of clarification for the public record, Chief, because when you see voluntary, someone might think, a little bit of excess, do we need this? When in fact, as our commission chair just said, this is simply to have 3 officers on duty at any one time, which for a town of 10,000 spread out is still a pretty thin coverage. Would you agree with that?
absolutely.
Thank you.
And as
Thank you.
we've discussed that before during the budget, that there are many times where there are calls for service in which there is a minimum requirement of 2 or 3 officers on just that one call. So sometimes we could have only 2 or 3, and officers are tied up on that one specific call, and that means for the rest of the town, we're in trouble. We have to ask for assistance, maybe from other towns or cities, or we have to have somebody leave an assignment that they really should be at. So we're doing it with, basically mirrors. It's something that we are, been dealing with for years. But so 3 is just an absolute bare bones minimum.
Thank you, Chief.
When you get assistance from other towns and cities, is that a cost to, or is that just
No.
something that?
No. Like for instance,
They
if
call
we.
you, you'll assist them, and
Yeah.
you call them, they'll assist you.
So if we had a domestic on Mettler Street per se, and then we had a very bad motor vehicle accident on the Seymour line, and our 2 officers are tied up on the Mettler Street domestic or making an arrest, we can call Seymour and they would respond. We can call the state police troop by, New Haven PD and Sonia, they both have, all these departments have helped us.
How often does that happen?
Not often,
Yeah.
but I do have our officers keeping track of that, just
Right.
so when it comes time to talk about that, I'll have better statistics for that.
Yeah, both ways would be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Offering assistance and then offering to us.
Yes, yeah. Other departments ask us for assistance once in a while,
Right.
so not very often. So also with regards to the, looking at the financial report, the repairs and maintenance line is high, and that's due to our high mileage patrol vehicles needing a new engine, which we talked about last month was $10,000, and the second vehicle needing a water pump for $3,564. The machinery line is very high, but we inquired today about that, and basically a major purchase, we purchased AEDs, defibrillators, which was a capital budget expense from last year, so we shouldn't have really been in that line, so that is not correct. And basically that's where we're at. We're actually in pretty decent shape though for December to be at 41%.
I see we have something from animal control. Is this the time that you want to talk about that at all, Chief?
I can talk about that later.
Okay. So if there are no further questions for the chief on the financial report, ask for a motion to approve. Debbie,
So moved.
thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Hank. All in favor?
Aye.
Let's move on to the officer activity report.
So Woodbridge Police Department made 5 criminal arrests during the month of November. Arrestees were charged with the following offenses: breach of peace, disseminating intimate images to a person, disorderly conduct, in violation of a protective order. There were 2 different individuals that were arrested for operating under suspension, which is a court appearance. It's a misdemeanor summons. With regards to our investigative services unit, during the month of November, the investigative services unit investigated 11 new incidents. Detectives are investigating the sexual assault of a 3-year-old child right now, and they're making progress on that investigation. They're also investigating a sexual assault that occurred at Amity Regional High School football game. The suspect is a student from another school, and they're also making some headway on that investigation. There was a stolen motor vehicle investigation. The incident occurred on Peck Hill Road in which keys were left inside of the vehicle. Our detectives assisted the Animal Control Division on 3 animal cruelty complaints that occurred in Seymour. These investigations have resulted in arrests, and detectives are also assisting on an animal cruelty incident that had occurred in Bethany involving farm animals. Detectives assisted the police administration in an internal investigation involving one of our animal control volunteers. And there were background investigations were conducted on 3 animal control volunteers and 1 non-certified police applicant. With regards to our school resource officer, Frank Sapione, he along with the school counselor spoke with students about the dangers of drinking and driving as well as distracted driving. And that's something that when we've had these traffic committee meetings, they've discussed, they've asked, you know, is it possible that we can get more information out to our students regarding distracted driving, wearing their seatbelt, drinking and driving, and so forth. So this is going over pretty big. He's going to many different classes, and I think it's making an impact. Our SRO also attended the annual homecoming dance. With regards to our motor vehicle activity, during the month of November, Woodbridge Police conducted 64 motor vehicle stops. There were 298 radar speed enforcement assignments and 330 deterrent traffic safety patrols. So once again, the difference between them, the radar speed enforcement is actually checking for speeding vehicles. So there were 298 assignments given out during the month of November. The deterrent traffic safety patrol, which is 330, that's sitting on a traffic light, a stop sign, if we know someone's passing a standing school bus, so that's a specific assignment. During the month of November, there were 34 motor vehicle accidents, which is a 31% increase from October. 5 of the motor vehicle accidents, there were injuries, 29 were no injuries. 9 of these accidents occurred on Litchfield Turnpike. 3 were on Amity Road. So on Litchfield Turnpike, a lot of them are in the 1600 block, kind of near Starbucks, 1800, 1600 to 1800. Not a lot of accidents up by Downs Road, up that way.
Do you see that annually after daylight savings? Is that what's?
Yeah, sometimes when the weather changes, yeah, when it gets darker early, we see an increase in motor vehicle accidents. So during the month of December, we've focused our attention on conducting speed enforcement on Amity Road, Baldwin Road, Johnson Road, Litchfield Turnpike, and Racebrook Road. So we have the speed trailer at some of those locations. And now, with regards to our animal control report, I
I'm
have...
sorry, before you get to animal control.
Yeah.
One of the things I was thinking about is with a conversation for next month when we'll have the full year's report. One thing that would be nice, I think, would be if we, like you've done for so many things, to show change over time percentages so that we see, are there any important trends in the differences between last year and the current year and the prior year in terms of, say, in any of these events that we list as part of the statistics, whether it be total arrests, whether it be larcenies, whether it be deruns, any of those things.
We can do that with both the criminal activity, motor vehicle activity, accident activity.
Yeah, they clearly would be burdensome, I think, to do it for every category. But if you would go through, just as you enumerated here, some of the key categories and see if we see any change in trends. Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And Chief, the radar speed enforcement, 298, Is that actually written tickets, or is that just
No,
like how many people?
Those are assignments where someone has been told that, go to Johnson Road, and they stay there for 20 minutes to a half of an hour and just
Okay.
actually do speed enforcement.
Okay.
And you were heading to animal control.
Yes,
Thank you.
as part of the animal control report, we have ACO Jess Mofo here.
So for the month of November of 2025, we had a total calls of service of 100. Those are between the 4 towns that we cover of Woodbridge, Bethany, Beacon Falls, and Seymour. Woodbridge, we had 55. Bethany, we had 17. Beacon Falls, we had 7. And Seymour, we had 21. That's a 13.8% decrease from October. Enforcement actions, we gave out 1 infraction. I believe it was for like a roaming dog in Seymour. Written warnings, we've given 3. Verbal warnings, 3. And criminal arrest, we made 1 in November. We've made 4 altogether with the help of Chief Smith and the PD and Seymour PD and our detectives. We have, those cases have been pretty extreme. They all came from Seymour. The dogs that we had a Connie Corso that had major bills with animal cruelty with starvation. We had an arrest on that. We had another Connie Corso, 11-month-old puppy that did perish. It's deceased. And we have a Corgi that was in the same household. And then we made an arrest with a summons with a juvenile. We still have custody of that dog. We're trying to get custody of it, but we have it in our possession. Number of animals impounded, we had 10 this month. Dogs were 7, cats were 3. We had 2 adoptions, 2 of them were dogs. Right now we have no cats. We had no cats for the month. We just got 2 cats in this month, but we had no cats for the month of November. We did endure quite a number of vet bills with these cases. They were extreme. The dogs needed it. It was emergent. If we didn't give them the vet care, they would have perished. So we did what we had to do. We brought them to the emergency vet. The first bill was estimated at $10,000. The vet actually gave us a break. They cut it down to $7,500, and that was all donated through the public's help. We reached out on social media, and the public came through, and that first bill was totally covered. The second bills were $6,800 and $1,800. So we have those incurring bills right now that people are still donating to that go directly to the vet. But it was high. It was over $12,000 for three dogs. So we did incur those. The public's help has been great. Chief Smith has been a godsend. I just want to put that out there. He's helped us in every possible way. He's always a call away, and he's guided us to a different level between our next gen and our reports, and it's helping us make arrests because now we're documented. So when we go to court, we actually have something and we're not getting turned away because we have organization and we have proper paperwork. So I commend him and his staff on helping us do our jobs properly.
Now, for each of those 100 calls, does that mean the police officer's out with you? Or is somebody
On
that
on the calls?
Yeah, the 100 calls.
It depends. If we feel that we need an officer, we will call for an officer to be with us, depending on where we're going. Majority times, we're going out by ourselves because it could be like a roaming dog, injured hawk or owl. Once we get there, if we see that there is a need for an officer, we immediately call. And all 4 towns that we work with have no problem helping us.
Like how many of those calls you think required a police officer, do you know?
Out of the 100, I'd probably say probably 30.
30.
Yeah.
Question on the bills, which, first of all, great work rescuing those mistreated
Thank you.
animals. Those are very poignant accounts that we all read. It sounds like that level of expense is a bit unusual for animal control. Is that fair to say, or is that more commonly to be expected? What's your take?
I mean, it's not uncommon because it's happening everywhere, but for our sake, we've never really had this impact, especially so close together. So we sort of got, hit pretty hard, like 2 weeks in a row, because they were 7 days apart. So the first dog was on a Monday, 7 days later, we got hit again with the second case, and then 6 days later, we got hit again with the third case. So we sort of got hit pretty hard. We usually, we never know when we're gonna see it.
Yeah.
You know, that's the unfortunate part. We don't know when it's gonna happen, but right now it's happening more frequent.
Last question, with great respect for the fundraising and the contributions of the public. How does that actually work? Do you all have your own fundraising site, or is there a separate private group that does that? How's that
So
work?
for the first bill, I contacted Chief Smith, and he contacted Anthony Genovese in First Selectman's office, and we got approval to have them call directly to the vet, because it would keep it out of our hands. It goes right to the vet, it comes off our bill. So we made a post with as much information we was able to put out there, and they called CH Shoreline in Shelton, and they donated right to our account, and it all got taken care of. We have slabs of everything, of all the accounts, and people were beyond generous. For the second case, we talked to Allison at First Selectman's office, and she made a link, and it goes right into our animal control account. So that's gonna go and pay our next vet bill.
And the posting is on your website, and members of the public follow it, and they
Yeah.
respond.
Yes.
That's terrific.
Yes, sir.
Chief, I don't know if you want to speak to since as a result of having these types of incidents so quickly and having the amounts of dollars that we're talking about in terms of contributions, I believe we set up a very specific process at this point in time
Yeah.
for contributions.
Yeah, we did with the assistance of the finance director. We have a new donation policy that we're just actually implementing. So we're going to know exactly, you know, where the funds are, how much funds we have, and where it's directly going. So it's going to kind of be streamlined. So Tony Genovese did a great job with that. So now there's going to be no inkling as to any malfeasance or anything. We're going to be able to track our money, what we have coming in. And the other thing is that what Jess was saying is that we're always thinking of trying to raise money. Her and I had a recent conversation. I'm thinking of making some shirts to potentially sell and make $10, $15 a shirt. You always have to be creative as to how we can make money, because these incidents that we have involving these animals are on the brink of death. They're coming to our shelter. So obviously we have to react, and the bills are just so expensive, and our budget doesn't allow us to pay for all these things. So we always have to think out of the box. We always have to try to raise money. We need to continually raise money with certain several fundraisers per year. But I think we have an active group or people that are really, you know, into this fundraising idea. We had something recently, right, in Seymour?
Yeah, we
In
did
Seymour
photos
recently?
it was our first annual. We did our photos with Santa with the First Selectman of Seymour. She asked us to actually do it, and we went and we raised $343 in 2 hours. We saw actually a couple of our dogs that we previously just adopted out, so it was pretty cool to see them, you know, again. So we had about 18 or 19 people that came. We got $343 in cash donations and check, and then we got food, treats, and all the stuff that we could use for the shelter. It was a great day. It was cool.
So I think one of the things we're learning about this is that there really are some things not fully covered in the budget, and particularly some of the veterinary costs are high. But in addition to your point, Chief, we have a lot of volunteers in the community who are very interested in doing things, not just helping us with funding like for the care of the animals from the standpoint of paying veterinary bills, but other things that might include enhancements to the physical facility or the surrounds. And I know I've had conversations with some of those folks who've expressed interest in, again, building on the work that's been done at Town Hall to have good policy in terms of donations, whether those be cash donations or whether they be materials, so that there's accountability on all of that. But I do think we need to think carefully. So they're in the midst of thinking about the creation of a Friends of Woodbridge Animal Shelter and creating a 501c3, much in the way that there's a Friends of Woodbridge Library as a method for accountability and success in fundraising. But we'll have to see how that goes, and I'm so glad to hear that the other towns understand and are participating in this. Otherwise, we need to revisit the issue of what the assessment is for each of the towns, so that everybody's paying their fair share.
And these three, these three cases were sort of extreme because the dogs were in such poor, deplorable conditions. We had no choice but to go to the emergency vet. So if it was something that we could have done with our local vet that we use on a daily basis, it wouldn't have been as high. But the condition of these dogs, so the first dog that we had, we took to the vet. They transferred me to the emergency vet because it was out of their hand. It was too much for them. So these ones are just a little bit, like I said, we can't tell what's going to happen, but these ones were pretty extreme because we had no choice but to go to the emergency vet.
I think the bottom line is that since Chief Smith took the challenge from our first selectman that we should be overseeing animal control, we've made tremendous headway at the administrative and managerial side, the things that you mentioned in terms of...
It's amazing, and like I said, I commend him and his staff, and the transition has been awesome, and they've been more than hands-on, and they've helped me become a better officer, and they've helped Officer Waddle become better too.
Yeah, and now we're making headway on the finance part of it, and the reintegration of volunteers in this, so we're moving ahead in totally the right direction, and thank you so much.
No, thank you.
Thank you so much, Steve. And now you have additional help,
Great
so
to have
it's not a
extra help. Great to have
24/7
extra
for
help.
you.
Yes.
Yeah.
The other thing too I want to add too is that one thing we're going to do this year at the end of the year is we're keeping a tab as to how much money we're spending with each specific town. Like right now we're getting hit very hard in Seymour. Everything that's happening with the animal cruelty and these large vet bills are Seymour bills. So I talked to the finance director, and we're going to just present, at least so he has the information, the data that we're spending this much here, in case there has to be any adjustments potentially moving forward.
Great.
Chief, to that end, one thing I just wanted to mention is, it's my understanding, for example, if we haven't recovered through fundraising the cost of the veterinarian fees, that is a responsibility of the town that dog is associated with. So just so for general understanding.
Oh, okay, I wasn't aware of that, good. Anything further on the animal control report that you'd like to offer, or that you want to comment on?
No, I think it's,
We're here to defend.
this next section talks about the actual shelter, home repairs and so forth. But I think overall, it's been going very well. It's come a long way. It's more professional. I've gotten calls from the state's attorney's office that it's been more professional. It's been, we're making criminal arrests. We're putting the information out. There's more public awareness. We're getting more social media activity. They're doing good things. We're gathering, donations. We're putting out fun stories about Thanksgiving and things of that sort. So it's getting more community oriented, which I'd like it to be, where this would be a place where our residents would want to visit because it's a happier place, a place where they can visit the animals. It's good for the people. It's good for the animals. So it's getting in that direction. We're moving forward.
We appreciate and recognize the progress that's been made. Look forward to even more.
As does town hall.
So with that said, I'd ask for approval of the animal control report. Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Great. And again, thank you so much for joining us today. Of course, you're welcome to stay if you got other things to do. We appreciate it.
They haven't, I just
Well,
want to
you might want
say,
to stay for the shelter discussion.
Oh, yeah,
That's been a little
Okay.
minutes.
So, Chief of Police report.
Okay, so regarding the police facility concerns, recently, members of our building committee, we formed a building committee with a few officers and Police Commissioner Westervelt's on it. And they visited the North Branford Police Department, toured the facility. So we are scheduled to tour the old Saybrook Police Department. I'm hoping that it's going to be this Friday. I spoke with their chief of police there, and I think this Friday might work. And we are also going to include Nigel Light to attend the meeting with us to get some input and his ideas looking forward.
So just for the public's understanding, there's a town building committee that I believe Dwight Rowland and Nigel White are sort of co-chairs, or at least they're the industry experts in building and construction. And Nigel has joined us for a tour of this facility.
Yes.
And now will become part of the touring group for other towns.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
Just
Good work.
a slight distinction. We've created what we're calling building officers. And they will be working with, if we establish a building committee, for example, if there's a project like the Center Building or Beecher Road, if there's a building committee established, they will work with those committees on different components of that, including in the preliminary work to understand what may need to be done so they can make recommendations to the town on a proactive basis as to some of the work that can be done.
Do we know what the composition of that committee would be?
It's currently just those two individuals because of their expertise, their areas of expertise. And that's why I say that the distinction is they're not a committee. They're called building officers. It's a volunteer position. It was an ad hoc type of an arrangement that was created out of the First Selectman's office with the approval and understanding of the Board of Selectmen.
In our building committee within the police department, this is just a committee of, we have people on, police officers that, hey, what do you think we should do? Giving us ideas of what should we focus on first? So it's kind of an informal committee. Also, with regards to the building, we spoke with the contractor who is installing tile in the front entryway of our building. Tiffany was instrumental in picking out the color. I think she picked out a nice tan.
It's almost exact. Turning on.
Also, this past week, we had a significant issue with our server room. So in our server room back here, we have a lot of our computer equipment, and the room was overheating to the extent where we ended up getting a call from the state and there's like a lot of, tens of thousands of dollars of equipment there. So basically our cooling system, our air conditioner broke down in there, but the issue has since been rectified. We dodged a major bullet,
So the state is monitoring the status.
Yeah, you have to speak up a little bit, this
The state-
machine.
The question is the state monitoring the state of the equipment?
They will monitor when the equipment, they can tell if the equipment is extremely hot and the room is hot, because the 911 system and other systems go through those computers. Collect, yeah. So we were able to rectify the cooling situation.
Do we have someone here that monitors that?
No, I guess it's monitored from,
Probably should have someone
Yeah.
there, one of the IT guys.
well, we do. Rob Capone, our part-time IT, he was the one who brought it to our attention.
Oh, okay.
So, there's no ventilation in there, so there's some ideas that we need to put in a graded door, not a solid door, we have a solid wood door. We always have to keep that room cool. But once the air conditioning unit's working in there, we're in good shape. So, but that might be something moving forward if we decide to do some renovations here, that we might want to put the server room someplace else.
Right,
It's
right.
probably not in a great location where it is now.
Chief, if I might, not good news. You might be aware that we submitted for a $1.3 million grant for EOC, which could have included some upgrades to that type of thing. I did speak with Rosa DeLauro, it was through Rosa DeLaura's office. Did speak with her office late last week, and they indicated that anything that was done in '25 has been completely deferred. We shouldn't expect to get it. they're moving on to 26. We didn't submit it in 26, so they're taking the things that were done in 26 and moving the things that weren't done in 25 to 27. So we had requested or submitted for a $1.3 million grant. We're not getting it, and we had actually been advised that we would be getting it, but things have changed since that announcement came out in the summer. So
Okay.
I'm sorry to report that, but that is just along the lines of what you're saying here. Just since you're talking about the building, that was something that we were very excited about,
Yeah,
and it does not look like it's going to happen, so we'll,
but it potentially has the possibility to happen in 27.
very much so.
Well, moving forward, that'd be helpful.
In the meantime, we'll see what else we can do.
Yeah, perfect, thank you. So, with regards to the status of the animal shelter, there has been many improvements made to the shelter. We're happy to report that a fence located between yards 1 and 2 has been repaired. That was one of our last projects that we needed fixed, so we had a fence company come in and make that repair. Further, the kennel doors that were malfunctioning have been welded and repaired. On December 6th, I attended a staff meeting that was held at the shelter, hosted by ACO MAFO, and we both discussed several policies regarding the shelter, as well as how to properly clean and maintain the shelter, and I believe the meeting was beneficial to all. So we are getting our message across, and things are looking up there. And Jess, do you have anything to add about the actual physical facility, or how it's
I mean,
progressed?
it's like night and day from 2 years ago. It's cleaned up tremendously. The fencing that Chief Smith was talking about, we had, because it settled over time, we had major gaps in areas, which was a dog safety, because a dog could reach in. If we had a dog in yard 1 and yard 2, there could be a face-on-face interaction, which is not safe for either animal or staff members. So, and there's a couple jagged edges that they fixed. So everything is lined up now, everything closes properly. So we were doing our best using makeshift equipment to keep it properly safe, but now it's all nicey nice and it's all fixed up. And they did weld all the bottom of our kennels, so it was galvanized, so I guess it was like a special weld. So they did all that on Thursday and Friday, and it looks me and Adam Parsons looked at it today, it looks really good. So it's just better. So everything looks really nice.
So when do we get final sign-off from the state that we've completed everything that they had sort of cited us for?
Have we gotten that already?
We haven't gotten like the official, but I did talk to Officer Gates, Dean Gates with the state. He knows that everything's been completed. They haven't come down, they're a little busy. They probably will come down, I'd probably say after the new year, and they'll just inspect everything.
Great, good, nice work, thank you. Thank you. So before we have a conversation on the budget, I think if you've got other things, you can feel free to go.
Yeah.
All right, I just want to say thank you, have a good holiday, if I don't see you guys, and thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, Chief, it's all yours.
Okay. So regarding the fiscal year 26-27 budget, this is our first go-around with the budget. Myself, with Tiffany and Tony's help, we put together a budget. Overall, the budget, if you look on the last page, it's a 9.44% increase from last year's budget. But when you look at that 9.44% increase, a bulk of that increase is because of the police officer salary number, which is on the first page, which is at 23%. What had happened is that for the last 2 years, going back to fiscal year 23-24, the officers did not have, there were no raises. So we've gone a little over 2 years and a couple months without a raise. So what we did was to be more competitive with other police departments because we had so many vacancies. We had to bring up our salary level because our officers, our entry-level officers, were one of the lowest paid officers in the state of Connecticut. So what we did was, with the assistance of Bill Ryan and the negotiating committee, we were able to put us in a competitive marketplace. And it has helped immensely to the point where we are today, which I didn't think we would be at this point, but we're in a lot better situation than we were 6 months, 8 months, a year ago. With that 23% increase, if you notice, if you turn to the second page, you'll see that there's a minus 48% with regards to the longevity. There's a minus 60% to the college. So the officers that have received a raise, they initially were getting college incentive at 8%, longevity was at 12%. So that's been taken away. And that helps actually with the whole budgeting system, the payroll system that we have, because we here had at one time 20 different officers and everybody was making different salaries. So right now, some officers did keep that as part of the negotiated agreement, did keep the college incentive and the shift differential, but most did not. But they also, those officers were able to get a significant raise that put us more competitive to where we need to be today. So, so those
The reason
numbers.
that that's important is we can now recruit officers and we have a much more even playing field with other towns in the area. Right?
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Even to the point now where we're sitting with one budgeted vacancy right now, which we were down 4, including 2 long-term injuries. So when you think about a small department, being down that many officers was significant.
So, could you comment on the officer's base pay available to only sergeants for the college incentives? It says calculations are derived from officers' base pay.
I'm sorry, I really can't hear.
It says calculations are derived from officers' base pay and is available to only sergeants. So if the rank and file get a college degree, they're not entitled to a...
Yeah, so as part of the negotiated agreement, it was agreed upon between the town and the union that the sergeants were able to maintain their 12% longevity and 8% college. Now, that being said, when each of those sergeants retire, that will be out.
Sunset.
So this is something that moving forward will be better for the town. You see the uniform allowance is down 19.43%. That's on page 2. That's because our officers have been fitted for the new Class A uniforms. That's what we had put in for last year. So that's down significantly. The repair maintenance vehicle, you see it at 30.43%. That number, although it looks high, what we did was account number 55150 was for parts. We ended up getting rid of that, zeroing out that specific account, which was $5,000, and including it into this repair and maintenance. But it would seem to happen with this budget is we had too many different line items that didn't make sense. So we had changed that to that number right there. The communications telephone line is at 60.74%. That was underfunded last year. The budget for it last year was $13,500 and we spent $21,700. And those are such things as AT&T Frontier fees, fees for our dispatch center, the Mitel phone system, and so forth. That's just the cost of doing business there. And really, that's it. Everything else we kept relatively close to zero. There's no bells and whistles here, and it's really just salary is the big driver of this budget, operating budget.
So does anybody have any further question on the basic budget? Or, Chris, first of all, thank you, and Andy for your work on meeting with the chief and doing this preliminary review before we're all seeing it. Are there any things that you,
No, I think, yeah, Chief covered it pretty well.
So
And you did a good job cutting back where you could cut back as much as you possibly
we
could.
realistically, we looked at some of the numbers that we had last year, and what we did is that, and if the money wasn't spent, we thought, with Tiffany's help, she was instrumental in this also, we looked at things, and if we didn't need it, we don't need it. If we do need it, Tony said, he'll find us money maybe someplace else, but right now, we could function with what we have. We're happy to have the raises right now. We have some capital items that, we'll talk about next, but I think, moving forward, the things that we need, with the furniture, we have some chairs that are dilapidated, certain things of that sort, but as far as operating the police department, there's certain things that need to be done, but we're not looking for anything out of the ordinary.
So this is a question that's at the back of my mind every year. But we budget, we under budget every time. Is there a rationale for that? I'm sorry, this is a question that's at the back of my mind every year. We under budget over time. And is there a rationale for that?
Well, I would say, I don't want to step on you, but, it's primarily because of overtime, okay? Because we've been understaffed for so long, that we've had to increase the overtime budget each year.
No, we don't, it's the same.
No, for next year, but I'm saying up until now, one of the reasons we've been over budget is overtime. And now that we're going to be hopefully just one officer under what we were trying to get as far as a minimum number, we should be much better in the overtime department, correct?
So I guess my question is it a realistic expectation that we will not be so much over budget on?
I don't think we're normally over budget. What happens here is like, you could look at the overtime budget and you could say, wow, it's 100. First of all, the town has only budgeted us for $120,000
Right.
on our overtime budget.
Right.
That's not enough.
No, that's my point.
No, it's not enough.
It's
So
not enough.
it's not enough. But what happens is that would be enough if you had a fully staffed police department. When you have 4 vacancies, 4 salaries that are not being paid out, whereas you have people that are on long-term injury that the town is getting a benefit from, certain benefit from, that $120,000, that's where that's coming from. So it's not that we have the proper staffing and now we're spending another $120,000. So this is my first year doing the budget, so I don't know if we were underspent or, I really don't, I'm not really
And
sure.
the overtime
I think
budget
if
is
you
really,
look at,
I was going to
if you
say,
look at the actual in '24, actual in '25, and add up the police officer line 50220 and the overtime police officer 50430, each of those years, the total is roughly the same. So I think it does sort of speak to this notion of it's pretty evened out. And to your concern, I think we all share it. My sense is, let's see what happens over the next year now that we're at full complement to the chief's point.
That's a good point.
See if we're even keel. Otherwise, we really should readdress that in the next budget cycle.
and also that's the equivalent of one officer on an annual basis, is salary, right?
Basically, yes.
So that's the person that
Yeah.
we're missing to get the full.
And with the realization that there were 3 other officers that we didn't have.
Exactly, right.
Right.
Does that make sense?
I had to ask.
Do we answer your question? Okay, good.
Time will tell.
As always.
That's it for the operating budget.
Yeah.
Okay. So with regards to the capital budget, there are several items that were looking for. First and foremost, most important for us anyway, are motor vehicles. So we're looking for 2 new police vehicles. Our fleet is quite old. We have several vehicles that are over 100,000 miles, and if you look at, do a study on what's an effective police vehicle, it's anywhere between 100 and 120,000 miles. Several of our vehicles, even though they have maybe 102, 105, 110,000 miles, these vehicles are idling all the time, so the wear and tear on their engines is significant. So it's like having a vehicle that has 400, 500, 600,000 miles on it. So what we're looking for is to purchase 2 new police vehicles. The police vehicles fully equipped from soup to nuts is $67,678 per vehicle for a total of $135,356 for 2 vehicles.
Is anybody making electric vehicles?
I don't know any departments, some departments have a hybrid, which I haven't really done a study to see how effective those are, but I haven't seen any with electric vehicles at all. Have you, Ray? Seen
So in Hamden, we did have some of the hybrid vehicles where they, kind of the engine turns on and off and it has a battery pack. They certainly use less gas, but they are more expensive. Like anything, there's a learning curve to those, and we found that there were some issues with the electrical equipment running nonstop, that the engine has to run more, because even when a car is parked, there's a lot of computer power in those cars and it's drawing a lot of energy. So we also found that if they broke, it's more expensive to fix certain things. So I couldn't say that there was an actual savings. Certainly environmentally, I would assume that they're better, but the jury is still out on whether they save money overall. But certainly environmentally, they're more friendly.
In other words, they have a much higher electric demand per unit of time than your average consumer vehicle.
Oh, a lot more vehicles.
Yeah,
Yeah, police cars use a lot of power.
But if they're all electric,
yeah.
they cost less to run. If you're out on the highway buying it from Tesla, that costs more. But if you have a charging station here or at home, it goes about half the price of premium gas too. But to
I
your
can see an
point,
issue with that
if they break, they cost a fortune.
Drives a lot more power.
they would need to be charged. And our cars like to go on the road right to the next guy, to the next guy, to the next guy, and they don't have that downtime to charge for a number of hours. That could be a problem. Yeah.
And also just to note that there's 3 vehicles you currently have that have over 100,000 actual miles and over 600,000 engine miles.
Yes.
So
And what's happened is that
Three-fourths of their life cycle.
right, and what you're seeing is that in our other, in the operating budget where we're spending money on repairs, we blew an engine, we blew a transmission, water pump. So these older vehicles are costing us money toward another vehicle. So, one thing, we're open to, and I talked to Tony about it, as far as thinking about a pickup truck and things that we need. We would like to have something where we could transport cones or barricades when we have a storm. We always have wires down. We always have trees down. We can't fit equipment into our vehicles. So one thing that we thought about is even we're not against going to look for something used pickup truck that has 72,000 miles on it that we could paint but we could use to potentially get for a cheap price, but still use that we don't need to buy a new truck or anything new. So we're open to options to just make the whole function better.
How are we getting equipment around now?
Right now, we are able, Public Works does some of it, but a lot of times in the middle of the night, we have a wire down and, we can put cones in the car, but the barricades are big. And in the cars that we like, I like the cars now, the Fords. Otherwise, some of these police departments have these big Chevy Tahoes that are like big buses, and how big are we gonna get? You know what I mean? It's just one pickup truck would serve, old pickup truck would serve a purpose for us. So So that's what we're looking forward with with regards to the vehicles. The second request is something that's, I'll just read to you what I've written. This is for the body-worn dashboard camera equipment. So this is a $50,595 proposal, and it represents our annual funding request for year 5 of the previously approved 5-year replacement and upgrade project for the police department's body-worn and dashboard camera system. This funding is necessary to maintain compliance with Connecticut statutory mandates pursuant to Public Act 20-1 and Act concerning police accountability. So this is where we all needed body cameras, we needed dash cameras, because everything, any interaction that we have with the public has to be captured on video. It needs to be saved in certain cases and used for court, used for FOI requests, used for civil investigations. So this is the last year of our 5-year agreement. We've been paying this for 4 years. This is year 5. And then we have to look forward to fiscal year 2028 as to what are we going to be doing moving forward if we have to renew. So this is like a recurring expense. 3, we are looking for 2 portable radios at a cost of $15,222, which is $7,611 a piece. And the reason that we need 2 portable radios, that if we do get up to the 23 officer number, which right now we are at 22. Everyone needs a portable. We have no portables left right now. And where we lost our portables is that we did have 2 portables, but we took over animal control. And when we took over animal control, we gave our animal control officers our last 2 portables. So we need 1 new one for 1 new person potentially, and the second one you always need to have at least 1 spare on hand, just for officer safety, and that's a cost of doing business. And the last item that we're asking for is...
I'm sorry, Chief.
Yeah.
So do we work with the state in terms of buying cooperative, as it were, or a best price kind of thing, whether it be radios, whether it be dashboard cam equipment, whether it be vehicles, or is every town on their own in terms of how they negotiate with vendors?
Well, with the vehicles, particularly with the vehicles, there's a state bid. So whatever the state bid, which is a lower price, we're going to get the lower price on the state bid. You know, as far as the cameras and the portable radios, I don't think that's on the state bid, right?
The cameras I can speak to, everyone basically gets the same price with the exception of quantity. So an agency buying thousands of cameras would get a different price than an agency buying 20 cameras. But they're all pretty close. There's not a huge savings on that. And part of what that is you're paying for the storage. And the storage is a big fee. And this is storage that you have to have. These videos need to be maintained and backed up, accessible for court. You know, they're evidence in many cases, and those things, that's where they're charging you for that. Along with the storage is the accountability of who's viewed it, who's seen it, who can delete it, and all those sorts of things for tracking of evidence. That's part of that price as well.
And there's a mandate to keep the video storage for a certain amount of time, so you have to store the vehicle, store the footage from the cameras.
That's on servers, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
So is that kept here, and they also save it like another server somewhere else, this company?
Yeah.
Like a backup?
It's a cloud-based system.
Okay. Yeah.
So if we wanted to have a copy locally, we download it to our own computer, make our own CD, or store it on a drive. But generally, it's stored cloud-based.
Right.
You're paying for that storage. You're paying for it to be secure, unalterable, can't be seen. It could be juveniles or sexual assault victims. These things have to be safe and protected.
Right.
And it's very, very well maintained by Axon. If anyone looks at it, views it, deletes it, downloads it, any activity to that video is saved for court purposes. So yeah, it's off-site, but we can make local copies when needed. And part of that system is the sharing of it. So any videos that go to court, we share electronically directly from the vendor's servers to the court. And that's an accepted method of receiving true evidence as far as the court is concerned. Hope that answers your question.
Thank you, yeah.
And the last item that we're looking to purchase is we're looking to purchase new firearms. So our firearms right now are 7 to 8 years old. They're at the end of life. A lot of police departments have firearms with this red dot technology. This red dot technology basically improves officers' skills at the range. And if you remember in Bristol, when the 2 officers lost their life, another officer was shot and wounded, and that officer, in very, very bad situation, was able to use this type of firearm with the red dot technology to fire 1 round and kill the perpetrator who killed the 2 Bristol police officers with 1 shot. So what this does is it, for people that are not extremely accurate at the range, this really brings up your score, and then many police departments are going to this technology. So for an officer safety standpoint, a very critical tool to have. The thing about turning in our guns now at the 7-8 year mark is that we can get a $7,000 to $8,000 credit for our firearms, so that this purchase would only cost us approximately $20,000. But it'd be something that, for officer safety, would be paramount to get this type of firearm with technology.
Is it fair to say that also is an enhancement to bystander third-party safety, because an incident where shooting is required could be more effectively and promptly addressed with fewer shots?
Absolutely.
And I can speak to this in Hamden when we switched over. We went from regular iron sights that we'd had forever to red dot. And to put this in perspective, this isn't a laser beam that projects out. This is a holographic sight. It's a piece of glass mounted in an optic that sits on the firearm itself, and the red dot is projected into a piece of glass on the sight. It doesn't go out and like put a dot on somebody or anything like that. It's in the sight itself. When we switched over to this, it's a day of range training for the officers to learn how to use it. However, our scores went up dramatically. People who had constantly been challenged to qualify were qualifying right away. People who were getting low scores, let's say of 240, 245 out of 300, are now shooting almost 300 every time. To the point where when we would go to the range for the past few years, without exception, everybody would say, I can't believe we didn't get these years ago. These are one of the best things we ever got. I'm shooting so much better. And there's also, there's some science behind it, but a simpler version is your eye can focus on one thing at a time. And with a holographic sight floating in the air, it's much easier to place on target and faster. And we found a great increase in our shooting scores.
Is there also a consideration that this starts to become necessary? It's my understanding this is not limited to law enforcement departments, that the general public can acquire this technology. So now your perpetrators in the field may be having it more.
The general public certainly does have this technology. The military has this technology as well. That's basically where all your technological innovations come from, and then it trickles down into law enforcement and civilians. Many civilians, civilians compete in shooting events as well. They have watch videos, don't take my word for it. If you watch a civilian shooting event, you'll see that almost everyone is using red dot on their weapons, unless it's a category specifically limiting that you can't use them because it makes it so much easier.
Notwithstanding all of the advances in gun technology, I'm still hopeful that the Woodbridge Police Department will continue its long-standing record of never having had to fire a shot in the line of duty.
Let's hope.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Great. How many towns can say that?
that would be nice.
Yeah.
That's it for the FY27 budget.
Any further questions for the chief or deputy on the capital part of the budget?
Nope.
Otherwise, I would seek a motion to approve.
Before?
Yeah,
Just one comment. We've asked, Board of Finance has very specifically asked all of the departments to, in addition to providing with your budget, the budget in the normal way you would, to also provide a report that indicates if we were to go to a zero budget, what would be the implication to the department? In other words, how we would have to adjust in order to get to a zero budget. I recognize, particularly with the new union contract, that that's a bigger challenge for the police department than it is for other departments, but it does mean obviously cuts, because everybody's department has employees who are entitled by contract to a raise, and many of the departments, including yours, as you said, Chief, have part of their capital expense is debt service for leases and things of that nature for vehicles. So that is something that the Board of Finance is expecting. Don't want to put more burden on what you folks have already been engaged in. That is something that the Board of Finance is expecting. They were very specific in asking for that.
so what do you recommend? What's this, I hear what you said, what does that mean? We go back and we zero this out?
That's your budget, which is something you need to do at any rate. So no, it's not as if that work is for any reason undone.
Right.
But now you need to provide a report, not necessarily a full line-by-line item, but if that's the easiest way for you to do it, what the Board of Finance has very specifically requested is, okay, if you weren't going to increase your budget at all, what would that do to your finances, to your budget? What would you have to do to your department in order to make that happen?
Right. So that would mean with our raises, with the significant raises that are in the budget, is that we have to take out that from the bottom, to balance it out to zero, whatever raise, if there was, let's say for an example, let's say there was $100,000 in raises, we'd have to take $100,000 on other things that we were asking for.
Exactly. Now, because of the union agreement and the fact that it's been almost 2 years and you could kind of do it with that as a caveat, asterisk, you know what I mean? Because that was negotiated, that has to be done. We don't have a choice in that.
Yeah.
And that was in a sense budgeted, or at least the back pay was all budgeted before. But the increase, you could kind of asterisk it and put something like, put that aside, if you will. But it is important that the Board of Finance do receive what they asked for.
So maybe this isn't the meeting for this, but it reminds me a little bit of the overtime budget. If you decide to, let's say, you say we're not buying new cars. If 2 cars break down, you have no option but to replace the engines for a huge amount of money. So, and also you really can't compromise officer safety. So.
And
Understood.
public safety too.
Understood.
And yes, public safety too. So I think that I'm a little puzzled by that. I mean, I could see a request, trim the fat, but it doesn't make sense to me to.
If you feel that can't be done, and that's up to you to indicate that. What I'm suggesting, what I'm saying, is that this was a very specific ask by the Board of Finance. And every department is expected to come in with a report.
No, my point is that we could say, no new cars. But if 3 of them break down, we gotta fix them. So it's almost, it's wishful thinking. Some of the,
We'll just
not,
put that
I think
in.
it's also very
that we have $120,000 in our budget for overtime. But if we need to pay overtime, we have to pay overtime. So I think that, I think that
From my perspective, I'll talk from my perspective. It's something that was Board of Finance requested, plain and simple. From my perspective, I think it's important that we begin to communicate to the public so that they understand when we have a budget increase, exactly what it entails.
Right. Okay.
So as to not, particularly, one of the activities that's going to be going forward is charter revision. And I know that there has been significant discussion on charter revision of having the budget go to referendum. So when those types of things happen, there's sometimes where the budget, and those budget referendums aren't itemized. They just say no, yes or no. So if we get a no, I think the more we can educate our public in terms of what we're spending our money on and why, the better we put ourselves in a position so that they understand going forward that what we're doing is very responsible and very effective in terms of the costs associated with what we're doing with the town. So this could be taken offline with Tony in particular, but I did want to make sure that I didn't not mention that as you're going over the budget. Doesn't change what you've done, but it's an important consideration, and I wanted to make sure it wasn't lost.
If I could add a thought to that point, because I don't know what the answer to this question is, and I don't know if our chief and deputy chief have information or could access it. Is there possible reporting of per capita officers on patrol in any one shift on average for surrounding towns? We're down to 3, maybe sometimes struggling to get 3. Is there information we could ascertain for surrounding towns of this size, for larger towns like Hampden and New Haven? Because it would seem to me that that could be very significant in any such public town discussion.
Yeah, I mean, we could definitively get that data to see what the per capita numbers are for officers in different communities, yeah?
And I say that
Absolutely.
being very mindful that upon a few years ago having learned just what the numbers are for Woodbridge, I was pretty surprised by it. I'm grateful for the level of safety we have in the community, but know that it's not at all a guaranteed thing, especially when you're operating at such a thin level.
I want to emphasize Mika's point about, and I'm not quite sure how we would do it, is getting out to the public where the money is going. You just took me back to 17 failed Amity budgets, which happened a number of years ago. And I think that if people just see the budget going up and up and up, they're going out and voting no.
And might I suggest that in any such report to the Finance Committee, among points that merit inclusion is the drop from 26 to 23 as the standard full complement for this department, even at a time when it might be argued that I don't know if this population increase, crime risk increases, but I think those facts need to be part of such a report.
Well, crime risk may not increase, but calls to dispatch to.
So I apologize that I need to leave for another meeting. I just wanted to make sure I had enough time to drop that bomb on you guys and move from there. But it is important. I know every other department's going to be asked to that, so I wanted to make sure that you were aware of that as well. If there's challenges, Tony and I are there. Just talk to us. We'll work with you however we need to. But I believe, and I've had the discussion with some of the people in finance, that obviously this is for us to really define what's necessary and what's not.
That's a good question. I would think it's just operating.
So, thank you very much, folks.
So just to clarify,
Yes,
the zero request from the Finance Committee is on the operating budget, not the capital budget?
Budget as a whole.
So overall, so we've got to figure out, or at least offer some explanation for the couple of line items here and
Correct. As you did.
$100,000, as well as the same thing on our operating budget. So when you, recognizing this is your first time at the budgeting process, Chief, and your meetings to date with Tony, has he been able to help shape a conversation that not only helps you understand the logistics of creating the budget, but being responsive to the Finance Committee request? Because there's
he's been helpful. He's been helpful with us creating, helping us create the budget to showing some of the logistics and the software that we're using, things of that sort. We haven't really discussed anything about getting down to the zero number. But that obviously be something that I'll be talking to him very soon.
Okay.
Any additional questions before I go?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rita.
Thank you.
So, understood what the challenge is. I guess I would say if we have no further questions, we're preliminary, to sort of offer preliminary approval of the budget, notwithstanding the additional need to figure out how to complete the full request of the Finance Committee's justification of anything that's other than a zero-based budget.
Right.
Yes.
Okay? All in favor?
Well, motion?
A motion, yeah.
Yeah.
Second?
Sure. Second.
Hank, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Tall order.
I just want to say, I'm sure it's a shared feeling, my appreciation for the chief and his team and for the commission's finance committee. These are very difficult things. Those who did the work deserve a lot of appreciation.
Absolutely.
And Chief, I assume we'll get together again after you've gone back to consider?
Yeah, there's a lot of review to do to get to that point, because, you know, when you look at it, you have to first subtract the salaries,
Right.
which is significant. And even if we just subtracted the salaries for 1 year, the last year. Secondly, there are some things that are mandated, like the $50,000 that were
Cameras.
included in the body camera. Other things are just equipment that, portable radio, functioning equipment to operate. So it's going to be a challenge. And some of the things that, you know, we've asked for, if you look, you see a lot of things are at zero. We're not asking for a lot. And in fact, we look at where we come to work every day. On top of that, you put that on top of it, because one of the things we were going to ask for in another capital budget was for some repairs to this facility. So it's an uphill battle, certainly, for sure. But I
And
will,
also the
let us know when you
disappointment
want
of the $1.3 million grant that all of us thought was coming in.
yeah.
Yeah, let us know when you're ready to sit down.
Yeah.
I assume you're going to sit down with 21st.
Yeah, to get some ideas, certainly any help in the matter, or, you know, speaking with you, I appreciate it, to see where we're come up with this.
Okay, having approved that budget, contingent on the next piece of work, we do have an executive session to interview somebody, and I know that person's been waiting for a while. I also know that Commissioner Coppell needs to leave for a previous engagement as well. Should we think to invite the officer candidate in and do the executive session and then finish up on personnel matters, or is personnel matters so quick?
I think personnel matters, if you just let me read what I have, I think it's going to be 2 minutes and we're going to be done.
Let's do it.
Okay.
My
And
apologies.
you gotta go, yeah. Thank you.
Thanks to the commission and the chief for your indulgence, Deputy Chief.
Okay, with regards to extended absences, the department has one officer that's been out on a work-related injury since February 2025. He's currently receiving medical treatment, including physical therapy. His date of return is uncertain, and due to his specific injuries, light duty is not an option at this time. So we have one officer on long-term disability. We have one dispatcher that's out on a work-related injury since October 15th. She recently completed a medical test, is awaiting results. There's no known return to work as far as we know at this point, no date to return. But she's still going for some testing, so we'll know very soon. With regards to the police officer candidate interviews, there's only one person on our list right now. We're currently conducting one background investigation on an applicant. It's an applicant that graduated from the Milford Police Academy, and he was employed briefly by the Ansonia Police Department. But things didn't work out for him at the Ansonia Police Department, so he's attempting to get on the Woodbridge Police Department. Whether that happens or not, yet to be seen. And we're happy to report that Officer Alex Weiner is scheduled to graduate from the Connecticut Police Academy. I believe it's at Central Connecticut State University on Wednesday. And in our latest report, he's ranked #1 out of 42 candidates. So that's pretty impressive. Lastly, with dispatcher training update, Nicole Toth, the latest dispatcher that we hired, she's presently receiving field training, and I've received nothing but positive reviews, performance reviews, and she's expected to complete her training in a month or two.
Great.
So if we get her back to work, get her trained and fully ready to go, we'll have only one vacancy in the dispatch center with the one long-term injury that we have. And that's all I have for the,
Long-term injury is the vacancy?
no, it isn't, it's not a vacancy. But at least we'll have 6 dispatchers in lieu of, we're supposed to have 7, but we get Nicole Toth, we'll have 6, which is better than what we have now.
Including the person that's on disability?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So right now we
Still be down
have
two.
five. Right now we have 5.
Right now, theoretically, we have 5, because we have one that's not fully trained, and we have one that's on long-term disability.
So Nicole would make 6 or 7.
Nicole would make 6 if she, when she passes her field training. And that's all I have for the personnel matters.
Right, so thank you, Chief. Before we go into executive session, and while we're still also involved in being recorded, I'd be remiss if I didn't make a comment about one of our missing colleagues, Andy Esposito, who has been for many, many years not just a contributor in so many boards and commissions in town, but particularly here at the Police Commission. And we're sorry that Andy wasn't able to make this meeting, and know that he's not going to be able to continue on in the Police Commission in 2026. So Andy, and to the town of Woodbridge, we really owe Andy a great deal of gratitude and appreciation for his years and years of service. Wish him and his family well, and thank him for all those years of service.
And Commissioner, if I could read a little something that I wrote for Commissioner Esposito.
Please.
Okay. So, I'd like to just say that the members of the Woodbridge Police Department would like to present a plaque, which we don't have today, but hopefully we can get that to Andy, to Police Commissioner Andy Esposito. Commissioner Esposito has always been a staunch supporter of the Woodbridge Police Department. He has helped move our department forward for several years and has been instrumental in addressing and advancing our building needs. On a personal note, I'd like to thank Commissioner Esposito for his friendship and unwavering support. He is a man who has accomplished a great deal in his life and has dedicated a significant portion of it to the town of Woodbridge. For that, we are forever grateful. So, we'll miss him.
We will.
So at this point, I'd like to seek a motion to move into executive session and to discuss personnel matters regarding an officer candidate interview, and ask that the commissioners remain in the room. And,
Motion.
okay, second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'd like to have a motion to come out of executive session.
Motion.
All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And now that we are back in regular session, just to be clear, there were no votes taken during the executive session while we had conversation surrounding a police officer candidate. But before we consider adjournment, is there anything else that anybody would like to do or say or make a motion, particularly as it relates to anything we've done so far today?
So I move that we extend an offer of employment to
Officer Y?
Officer
Robert
Warren,
Wong.
assuming that he completes everything that should be completed.
Yeah,
I think we-
he would only have to he'd have to do a medical examination.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
So we'd like to extend an offer, a conditional offer to Officer Wang of the New Haven Police Department to come join us here as officer at Woodbridge Police Department. And you can now go ahead, and thank you so much, Commissioner Desir, for your early scouting and interview work with Officer Wang.
Thank you.
So we're all set on that, and if there's no other further business, seek a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
All in favor? We are in adjournment this evening. Thank you so much.